So game week 2 had everything from narrow wins to shock results to so much madness. And today we're going to discuss about it with my panel. Welcome, Mr. Achike. How have you been?
I'm good, thank you. Not very good after the results we are seeing this game week, but life goes on.
Ha 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 ha. And of course, you also have Mr. Chooks. He joined us in the last stream. Welcome back, Chooks. I'm sure you're in a better position right now, yeah?
As you can see, I'm all smiling. So after that disastrous, and well, not so disastrous, but after that humble showing in game week 1, I think I'm in a better place now.
Awesome. So we have a lot of games to cover, and of course, so let's get into it.
Nice.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, Arsenal, thanks for being part of the show today. Always, we're going to have a quick agenda for the Game Week 2 review show. We'll start with the Arsenal match review. Come on, that's the best team in the land, so we have to start with them first. It's okay for haters to hate, but that's just what it is. And of course, we're going to look at our title rivals watch, see how our other rivals are trying to do in the course of the week. We'll take a look at the other key fixtures for the rest of the week. We'll look at the surprise of the week. We'll look at the injury watch. Then we'll touch on some of the players of the week, look at the Premier League table, and of course, review what's next for Game Week 3. So without heading further into it, I just want to quickly ask, Mr. Achike, what was your take on Game Week 2 so far?
So Game Week 2, in lieu of the league table and in lieu of fantasy, are two very different things. That's quite the interesting part. I'm looking at it because in terms of fantasy, some things were confirmed. I mean, this was the second week where we got the defensive action points and all that, which is still a bit confusing for me. I've not fully gotten into it because, as you can see, I'm a Man United fan, and Bruno had like 12 defensive actions. I was like, I'm a bit confused and all that. But in general, it's been all right. It's not been the worst. The Man City Tottenham game was quite interesting. Obviously, that was one of my highlights watching it, and because I had some assets from Tottenham that I was wondering whether I should play against Man City at home, and lo and behold, clean sheets, lots of shots. Pedro Porro did it for his boys. It's been quite interesting. Another surprising one, was okay. Sorry, we're going to go to surprise of the week. Then I'll mention it then. So let me just put that for now.
Oh, that's fine. What about you, Chooks? Your thoughts on the week so far?
I was here last week and I made a few predictions that have probably gone south. Right. So yeah, a few of the teams have turned out differently than I expected. But so far so good. My game of the week obviously is the game that just finished between United and Fulham, to be honest, because I had so much expectations of the game, but after watching the game and seeing how a few things have panned out, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to start recalibrating my expectations. But yeah, that has been my game of the week.
Oh, great! So we have a couple of fans in the chat. Kelechi, he was part of the panel for Fan Friday on Friday. It was fun having you. Thanks for coming again. He says he's watching with shades on due to plenty score reflection. Oh my God!
Don't mind him. He's jealous.
Yeah, he is. I agree. So let's start with this. So Arsenal smashed Leeds United 5-0. Obviously, prior to the game starting, Iberichi came onto the pitch, got a very huge reception, and the fans were all loving it. But the game itself was quite interesting because Leeds actually had the first big chance of the game when a corner kick was crossed and Pascal Struijk nodded it and David Raya made a very lovely save. But as Arsenal went into the game, you could see that the confidence was rising, and as we expected, the goal started tripping in. The first goal was from a familiar source, Set Piece FC. So before we talk about the goal, what is your take on Arsenal and their set pieces, Achike?
Arsenal says set piece coach. I think he should be on the same wages as Arteta. Football is about exploiting advantages you may have and weaknesses the other team may have, and as I suffered it last week with the corner, and that was a foul on Bayern, but let's not even talk about that. But if you know what's going to happen, you have to defend about it. My problem with it, and it's not about Arsenal set piece taking, it's about the rules in set pieces and all that, is that it actually hinders and affects the defenders way more than the attacking team. Because, for example, right, if you're in the penalty box as a defender jostling, right, you have to think about any error you make could be a penalty. Like if that guy is going to block your keeper and you block him off a bit too harsh, that could be a penalty, which is a huge thing for you. Mm-hmm. But as an attacking player, you can do as much justing as you want. What's the worst that'll happen? Free kick in the team's own box, which is like a goal kick, and you can start to try and stop their press. So it's actually something that I think the more teams exploit it, and I don't know if you know, last season and this season as a whole, the in-swinging corners in the Premier League have increased more than any other European league, because they're trying to, and it's not just Arsenal doing it, they're trying to take advantage of it. Even Man United did it today. Bruno Fernandes now takes on the right. Before, he used to take on both sides and would outswing on the other side. Now Brian Mbeumo took the left-sided in-swinger, which led to a United goal. So it's something I think the football world as a whole has to look into, because the risk and reward for defending players and attacking players in set pieces in the box, the gap is too huge. You can either give away a penalty if you're a defending player, or just give away a free kick as an attacking player. So, but after all is said and done, as the rules are, it's a strong weapon. Utilize it. Other teams should learn to defend it. Other teams should learn and create their own attacking set pieces.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because prior to yesterday's goals from Timber, Arsenal had actually scored 33 goals from set pieces in the start of the 22-23 season. And that was, I think, 5 goals more than any other team in Europe. So it has already become a trademark for the club. And unfortunately, teams don't seem to know how to stop it. So, Chooks, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, like Achike has said, if it's a weapon you have, then you might as well just use it, right? And this season they've started rewarding such shoves and pushes within the box, and any small push like that can just lead to a penalty. So just buttressing what Achike has said, right? And yeah, it's a defender's advantage in that very instance. And I mean, you can only just continue to use it until you get found out. But if you've not been found out in 3 seasons now, then it's something that I expect will continue to happen throughout the rest of the seasons. You'd see other teams are already, making such moves as getting their own set piece coaches, because it has become a thing, right? If you can't beat them, you join them. So that's what's happening. Chelsea scored from 3 set pieces against West Ham as well. United scored theirs, So yeah, I think it's something that will become very much more popular in the EPL this season and for seasons to come.
Yeah, I agree. So now let's talk about Victor Gyökeres. So he was under a lot of pressure. When Arsenal played Manchester United last week, the Leeds cooked him pretty much. And, when he was subbed early on, there was so much criticism saying that he has more touches of his hair than even attempts on goal, But this game against Leeds was one that he needed to score. And you could see the relief when that goal went in. And I think what took me the most was the fact that he actually created a chance for himself. The pass from Calafiori was way back in the center circle and, moved down from the edge and cut in and scored. This was like basically one of his trademarks in Sporting CP. So, Achike, do you think we should expect more from him in this type of attacking play, or will it always just be a poacher finishing chances that come?
So it's a tricky one, because I mean, yes, Leeds are in the Premier League, but they just got promoted, and it's not the sternest of tests yet. Now, once he was bought by Arsenal, my feeling on Gyökeres is that he was not particularly the striker that Arsenal needed. Like when Man United completed for Sesko as well, I actually said that both teams got each other's striker, because I believe Gyökeres fits what Amorim is trying to do more than Sesko does. And I believe Sesko fits what Arteta is trying to do, or what Arteta has done in the past. Because for all I know, Arteta might be evolving to use Gyökeres a bit more, because I believe he's a good forward, good striker in transition. Now, Arsenal's problem last year was not the games in transition. It was in the games dealing with the low blocks. Because in the games in transition against the other big teams, Arsenal had the best record. It was in those low block games where it was a bit difficult. So it's still early days. But then again, as a striker, once you score, you've scored. Goals breed goals, and confidence is there. So we'll see how it goes next week against Liverpool, because that'll be a bit of a sterner test, because those are the games where you would expect him to shine. But those were the games Arsenal were winning anyway, or not losing, more than anything. Because Arsenal, as far as I remember, I don't think they've lost to any of the big six in a while. So it's an interesting one. But then again, goals, why not goals?
So, and now we have a comment for coming to the chat today. He says set pieces are legit. Why the tears? So I don't know why there are so many haters. I remember when I watched the game that Chelsea played against West Ham. When Chelsea scored all those set pieces, we're like, oh, that's when you get to set pieces. When you came to Arsenal, everybody is all about. So what's with the double standards, Chuk? As a Chelsea fan, can you explain that to me?
Nah, it's. I mean, like I said, people are coming to realize and to accept that it's now part of the game, right? And if you can't really beat them, you have to join them. Everybody's beefing up their coaching units with a set piece expert, right? Even Brentford's main manager was their set piece coach, right? So if you can't beat them, you just have to join them. So I think we're done with the moaning now, and we're now in action, trying to join Arsenal in enjoying some of those set piece goals.
Okay, thanks. That's a cool one. So before we leave Arsenal, just one more talk from you want to hear from you, Chooks, on this. What's your take on the sign of Iberici Eze?
As a rival, you want to hear my take as a rival? As a rival, I'm not so happy about that move, right? Because I feel like Eze offers you a lot of options, right? Options that you don't or you didn't have in the team before now. So um you've suffered for a while with what's his name now? Odegaard, right? And now he's even injured. So there's a lot of talk about how Odegaard kills your transitions. He's not releasing the ball on time. He's not the best of shooters. He's not the best of passers. I mean, he used to be one of the best in my opinion, but for some reason, the volume of passing or the vision just dropped in the last season, and even with the start of the season. So I think Eberichi Eze offers you those options in terms of creating chances, in terms of holding on to the ball, even when you're in transition. I think his decision making is up there. So yeah, as a rival, I'm not really cool with the move, but I think you guys have really done well in that regard. And seeing how Odegaard is going to be missing a few games, I don't know how long he's out for. I'm looking forward to seeing how Eze performs.
Okay, that's good. Achike, what about you?
So it's an interesting one. I mean, he's a good player. He's a good addition to the squad. I mean, at the end of the day, only 11 players can play. About him being the replacement for Odegaard, now Odegaard's injured, I think it's going to be a bit tricky because he's always played more on the left side as a left-sided 10. Odegaard is a 10, but he's a right-sided 10. Then you have Rice playing a bit like an 8, and then you've got Zubimendi at the base and all that. So let's say he's coming into the squad for Odegaard. He's going to be on the wrong side. Unless Rice is going to be moved over to that side, and then you're going to lose dynamics, because Arsenal's strength in recent seasons has been the excellent understanding of their right-sided attack from Ben White or Timber to Saka and Odegaard. Now, if Odegaard can replicate the understanding, if Eze can replicate the understanding with Saka and Timber or White, then it'll be fantastic. Because then you'd have that extra push, like Chuk said, about how releasing the ball on time. Because even against United last week, Arsenal had a lot of transitions that Odegaard, just his final ball was a bit too late, a bit too sly and all that. But I could understand because, early in the season and all that. I also think that something people are forgetting is that Arteta has transformed the way he's been wanting Arsenal to play. It's been evolving, right? Earlier on, Odegaard's strengths were more on show. Now it's dropping a little bit more. And when I say drop, not in the negative sense of drop, but it's affecting what his skill set is. Now, in the days where the wide wingers were wide, just wide wingers, fast breaks and all that, it had a different feel. Now, if Odegaard is in the team, does Eze start ahead of Martinelli? He's not really a wide man. He's more of a wide 10 as opposed to a narrow wide man. So it's actually going to be interesting to see what Arteta has in store. Because to be honest, I thought the signing of Gyökeres showed that Arteta has something else in store in the way he wants the team to play in certain ways. And then there's one area actually as well who could be replacing Odegaard, but he's still a kid, so we still need to give him some time. But it's an interesting dilemma for a manager to have, and it is a fantastic player. I can't see it going wrong, but I'm just intrigued as to seeing what the plan is.
Thanks. And we have Eric in the chat. Eric, thanks for being part of the chat today. You see, they're all being haters. And Demolo said something about you with Chooks. He said he thought you were an Arsenal fan. So Chooks, it's time to come out in the open. You have always been a closet Arsenal fan, right? Or you're just a blue guy?
Nah, I've never been an Arsenal fan.
All right. So then let's transition to title rivals watch. And of course, we're going to start with the Etihad Stadium. So this was quite an interesting one. Manchester City destroyed Wolves in the first game week. And the expectation was that when Spurs will continue with that good form. However, Spurs has actually had a very good record at the Etihad. And when the game came into play, Mamouche had those misses and stuff like that. But obviously, Brennan Johnson scored the first goal. Then Trafford brought out his inner Onana. And after that goal-mouth scramble, Joao Palhinha scored the second goal. So I'll start with you, Achike. You're a Manchester United fan. How pleasurable was it to see Man City falter the way they did?
It's always fun to see the noisy neighbors lose, especially at home in their quiet stadium that doesn't have any fans and doesn't have any history. That was literally created, 2003 for the Commonwealth Games. But yeah, with its branded name. Anyway, I mean, it was an interesting watch because Thomas Frank showed that he's a pragmatic manager. And when I say pragmatic, people use that as a negative term. No, pragmatism is about doing what you need to do to achieve your goals. If this in the Super Cup, he played a particular way, stunned PSG, was on the front foot from the beginning. The last week against Burnley played a different way as well, and it was quite interesting. And then yesterday, it was not the same formation, but with the same attitude that they played PSG. Get in their faces, get at them. They had an easy weekend, relatively easy weekend last weekend against Wolves. So they were not expecting this. And it was really interesting. It was almost like Spurs wanted it more. The energy was there. And when it was time to sit back, soak and hit really hard, Kudus doing his thing, I was actually quite impressed. And it shows that the Spurs players, as much as they liked Ange, in their Europa League games where they had to play in that pragmatic way and they shined and eventually winning the Europa League, you could see that they don't mind playing like this, because they're getting it. I mean, they're not going 100 miles an hour, scared to tear their hamstrings like Ricky van der Ven has been doing since Ange was manager and all that. It was actually quite interesting. And yes, I mean, to answer your long story, I was very happy that Man City got thumped.
Yeah, so true. So something can play PSG. Thomas Frank used his usual Brentford formation, that 3-5-2. But against Manchester City, he actually played his 4-2-3-1. Why do you think he didn't use his Brentford formation against Manchester City?
I think even from his presser, he made mention of wanting to always press from the front, right? And with Paulinho back in the team after missing the start from the previous game, I think Paulinho is one of the best destroyers you could have in the Premier League, right? Even before his move to Bayern Munich, he was one of the best defensive midfielders, right? So if you have Paulinho in your team, then there is enough room for others to go forward and try to track down and press. So I think that's what Thomas Frank had in mind, for playing that way. And I think they did a really good job because Paulinho at the base of the midfield, shoring up the defense, and kicking and destroying everything, just made that difference for me. I think sprinting, everybody they didn't stop running. I think that was just the little tweak between Ange's deep block versus Thomas Frank's, right? Because with Thomas Frank, despite the deep block, they're still pressing you from the front. But Angie, whenever he tries to employ that deep block, like we saw in the Europa League final, they were a bit more reserved, right, with their pressing because they wanted to actually keep shape. So yeah, like Achike said, Thomas has shown a bit of dynamism with the way he's set up the team, in different ways in the 3 games. So kudos to them.
Yeah, so we have Okereke Onyeka in the chat. Moski, Flore to you, brother. He said he hopes United are not part of the title rivals watch, and that's for sure. Don't worry about that; they're not part of it. So going on to the next game, West Ham 1, Chelsea 5. I didn't see this coming. Well, I actually expected Chelsea to beat West Ham, but I didn't expect them to destroy West Ham. Obviously, the last team that actually scored 5 goals in London Stadium was my guys. When we beat them 5-2 last season. And West Ham had a very good start. Lucas Paqueta, that was an amazing shot. My first question to you, Chooks, is for a team that has spent 1.783394 billion in all the players in the world, why can't you get a decent goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question we're asking everybody that cares to listen in the Chelsea leadership team, right? Because I don't quite understand how we've sorted out most of the areas and we can't happen to sort out our goalkeeping issue. Yeah, he's a good shot stopper. I won't take that away from him, right? I think when it comes to distribution, I think that's where he was found lacking or found fault in last season. But in terms of shot stopping, not so bad, quite decent, right? But there's always that error in him. He hasn't shown the range of errors in the past, 10, 15 games, right? But with Sanchez, you're just hoping, not hoping, you're expecting that error from him to come in every game. So I don't know. I just hope it's something we can deal with as soon as possible because you're just as good as your defense. And Chelsea's history has shown that our defensive um, our defensive what's the word, is where we've shown so much strength, right? So if we can't deal with that goalkeeping issue, I worry about our chances going into the season.
Yeah, so Achike, speaking of errors, what the hell was the performance from Matt Hermansen? Right? Fabianski had left the club. Ariola was thinking he was going to be the number 1. Graham Potter went out there to sign goalkeeper, right? Okay, and obviously we saw that he got relegated, no doubt, like Ramsdale, but he actually made a lot of saves. What happened on Friday night? What happened to his hands?
It was a crazy watch, because it was one of those things where, when you played the game, not at any level and not a happy professional, right? Sometimes you just have a terrible day. And I don't think he's as bad a keeper as Friday night is trying to make us feel. It was just one of those days where I think if it wasn't a professional game, he might have been subbed at halftime. Like the coach would just be like, bro, today's not your day. Whatever it is you've got on your mind, just take it easy. No, because I've actually seen it happen. It was time we were playing football in university and our keeper was just having a terrible day. We were down like 2-0. It was just 2-0 at halftime. But all the errors were there, like kicking it, letting balls go out, and then subbed him after the game. He now came out and was like, how he was having some problems in his head and all that. Because sometimes we forget these guys are human. I don't think Fridays should be what he's used to judge. As football fans, we tend to always use people's worst times to judge them and all that. But I literally just think he just had an off day, lack of communication, and it was just, yeah. And about the Paqueta goal, I'm sorry. Yes, Sanchez is not that bad a keeper, and Paqueta's goal was awesome. Sometimes goal is just goal, you know what I mean? And about the spending all that money and not getting good keepers and all that, you see, the Chelsea model, because it deals with a lot of churn, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, Sanchez is the number 1 now and everything. And if they have an opportunity to get a great deal, like they've been doing with other players and get another keeper in, they probably would. And then that keeper might be better. Mm-hmm. But because the keeper position is so under so much scrutiny. Like, for example, I'm sorry, Cole Palmer has been rubbish for months, right?
Yeah.
But because they've known how good he is, because they've known how good he is, and other players will score, other players will do other things, he'll keep his place in the team till he can play back into form. With keepers, it's a lot more difficult because your mistake leads to conceding a goal. So the scrutiny on them is also a bit more than it should be. And because, I mean, I think the $1 million question is Sanchez a title-winning keeper, right? And most people will say no. But then is Chelsea's back five a title-winning back five? You know, these are the questions sometimes we forget. Sometimes we focus on individuals, you know, because, I mean, I remember when Peter Cech came to Chelsea. He was put there, Cudicini was benched, but then the unit, Carvalho came as well. John Terry was in his pomp, you know, Terry. And then the summer of, you know, so people will remember, oh yeah, when Cech came, this happened. But yeah, don't forget the people that were ahead of him as well. Chelsea's centre-back pairing has not been completely settled for like a 12-month period where you say these are the top two. Fofana has his injuries. Kobil has his own injuries now. Sometimes you have players who come in and out. So it's one of those tricky ones where I try to take a step back and look at everything holistically in the sense that Sanchez is not a terrible keeper. He might be the position that might get most criticism in Chelsea, but that's because it's not a position that you can churn as many players as you can to get the right fit.
I have a slight
counter argument to that. But counter that. Okay. When David De Gea was still at Manchester United, there was a season where he won the Golden Gloves and he had the likes of Fletcher and Carrick and Evans and Jones in front of him.
Those are all good players. So I'm not sure what your point is. I'm not sure what the point is you think you're making there.
No. So you are trying to argue about the defensive line of Chelsea not being that good. I'm saying that even if your defensive line is not that good, a keeper can show his talents. And Sanchez is not doing that.
That's not fair. Yeah. Sanchez makes some great saves. That's not fair. Chuk said it himself that he's a great shot stopper.
Yeah. I didn't say great. I said he's a decent shot stopper, right?
Decent. Wow, only decent.
So my issue with Sanchez is, and I'm supporting. I'm leaning towards Enigma's view here, right? Sanchez made 5 errors leading to goal last season. I think that's the most. In fact, I don't think all of Chelsea's goalkeepers since Peter Cech combined have made up to 5 errors leading. Do you understand? So the problem, yes, the names.
So that's not fair. You know why that's not fair? Can I just give you one reason why that might not be fair?
Let me just quickly land.
Let me quickly land. The way Chelsea are playing. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Let me quickly land. So in terms of, I know the names of our defenders, right? The names of our defenders aren't up there in terms of, and there's been lots of moving parts, right? But if you actually see the kinds of chances we concede, we're not one of the worst defenses, right? We concede very low in terms of
XG.
Exactly. So we don't concede crazy chances, right? Our defensive solidity is still up there with the best. Like, I don't see so much difference between our defensive solidity and Liverpool's, right? And Liverpool was the champions last season. So yes, we don't have the caliber in terms of names, but I think Sanchez can do a little better than he's doing. That's just my take.
I get that, but you see, I like to look at it this way: is that it's not about, yes, you're not conceding a lot of chances, but then look at the kind of chances you concede. Like, I think it was 2 seasons ago, or was it season 4, where Man City, right, as well as they had one of the best defenses and everything, they had one of the highest XGs against, but didn't have a lot of the goals because the actual chances they do concede are usually big chances. And I think that might be what is affecting Sanchez, in the sense that Chelsea's play in the days of Cech and others, it was more direct. Now you guys play around a bit more. Yeah. So when there's an error, like in the previous days, you're kicking out to the midfield for Essien or somebody to win it, or that big midfielders. Now you're playing out from the back. So if you kick a goal kick, long, and it is won by an opposing midfielder, right? So what? It's in the midfield. It's a midfield battle. You still give an inaccurate and uncompleted pass. But if you do it to your center back and it's intercepted, that automatically changes to big chance against and creates big XG against. So, we've been watching football for long enough to realize that some things evolve, and they evolve how we gauge people. Because keepers are still primarily meant to stop the ball from going into the net. I don't care what anybody tries to say. Playing out of the back, their primary job is to keep it out of the net. So if he makes an error when he's playing short and the chance comes against him, that is an error on his part, but it's also a change in the fundamental way we play the game now that is going to lead to more errors against. In the good old days, once you hoof it into the midfield, two big, strong midfielders will fight for it. You will never have a big chance against from a goal kick ever. But now it happens all the time. By the time you pass to the left back, pass to the center back, you want to pass to the DM, one striker comes and nips it. Big XG against, error leading to goal.
Yeah, and I think we have a Mr. Charles somewhere in the chat. Thanks for being here. He said a solid goalkeeper. Yes, he has errors in his game, but he has improved from game 31 to date. Then he now mentioned that since that week, he hasn't been Chelsea's issues. Chelsea won the Club World Cup with Sanchez. He's bad, but if you see his big saves, he. Okay, so I want to be honest. Like, in as much as I've kind of used a stick to beat him up, I know that he has saves that he has done for Chelsea, where they expected to concede. But that's true. I'm just thinking that obviously he doesn't really have a good competition because Jorgensen is not anywhere clear. I think he actually had a chance to, keep, and he was really messed up. Now let's look at the game in terms of the goals that we get. Chelsea is not necessarily scores a lot of set pieces. We used to say that this was an outlier.
Actually. I mean, West Ham have looked terrible. The first game against Sunderland, and then this game. Graham Potter was, ex-Chelsea manager as well, was somebody that people had high hopes for and everything. But honestly, if the relegated three from last season were not as bad as they were, West Ham would have been in trouble. So I think this is more of an outlier. Let's see them do it again against maybe a stronger opposition. Because last week against Crystal Palace, we didn't particularly see them threatening from set pieces. I'm not saying they didn't have a big threat, but it wasn't something that sprung to mind. But on Friday, it just looks like every time there was a set piece, something could happen. So I'm thinking mixed with the West Ham keeper off day, West Ham being terrible so far this season and towards the end of last season. Let's give it a couple of weeks or two. Let's see if it's something they've got in their locker now, or this was just a good day at the office.
Okay, so before I move to the next game, thoughts as a Chelsea fan?
It's still early days, to be honest. I think West Ham, like many of the rivals have been saying, West Ham were very poor on the day. So I don't want to really believe Chelsea were so good, right? And because we've not had a serious preseason, I can't really make projections for now. I just want to watch how the team plays in the next couple of games. But yeah, that was a good showing. West Ham looked poor. I particularly think the West Ham goalkeeper's height was the real issue. Because he's one of the shorter goalkeepers in the league. The same fate that Kepa suffered, all through his time in Chelsea. But yeah, that's by the way. So well done to my boys.
Okay, so final question on West Ham versus Chelsea. How many more games do you think Potter would last before he gets sacked at Chike?
I think that's a bit unfair. Let's give him till the November international break. Let's see what happens.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sure you can relate. That's when Ten Hag got sacked. So we're going to look at
which he shouldn't have been, but
So we're going to look at other key fixtures in the game week, and we would start with Bournemouth versus Wolves. So in the first night of the Premier League, Bournemouth came to Anfield and they actually put up a very good showing. They conceded 2 goals initially. Semenyo stepped up and scored a brace, but toward the end of the game, obviously due to the pressure and all that, they conceded 2 goals. So when Wolves came to town, I was basically expecting them to win. So Chooks, my first question is this: do you think the 1-0 attacks Wolves could Bournemouth have done better?
I mean, it's still the Premier League, and you expect the toughness here and there, right? So, with Wolves losing 4-0 in the first leg, you'd expect them to try to put up a showing, right, so that they don't, have that continuous loss. But yeah, there was hardly any way they could stop that loss because Bournemouth really looked good on the day. Even I predicted that Bournemouth was going to win by 2-1, so 1-0, similar scoreline. Almost everybody would have expected Bournemouth to win that game. Wolves have been particularly poor even in preseason. I think they've lost 5-6 games in the last 6 games. So They've scored just 2 or 3 goals in the last 6 games as well. They're not scoring a lot, losing Cunha and Nuri. I think that's a lot for one team who doesn't have volumes of chance creations. So they're going to suffer a bit, but let's just hope the new signings can cover up those lapses.
Yeah, speaking of new signings, Achike, what's your thought on Arias? In the Club World Cup, he looked phenomenal with Fluminense. And with Cunha leaving for Manchester United, he was signed and was even given the number 10 jersey. It was shocking to see him benched in Wolves' first game. But he started against Bournemouth and he didn't really impress. What do you think he can? Do you think he can generate that spark that Cunha had when he was at Wolves, or should we just give him time since he's coming from a different league and different division?
Yeah, so this game was an interesting one. So I didn't watch it live. I watched the extended highlights, and I expected Bournemouth to win. But then when I watched the extended highlights, as good as Bournemouth were, Wolves were not as pushed over as I expected. Because even in the first game against Man City, they had a couple of chances in transition that I was like, hey, is this Man City? I don't know if you remember that. They had a couple of chances here and there.
Yeah.
It was
There was
interesting.
some pressure on them.
But once that red card came, it was game over. They did have some chances after the red card, Wolves did. But I think it was game over then, But so I was not as down on them, even though I expected them to lose. I thought it was interesting. About Arias, being benched in the first game, it was against Man City. Sometimes for players' confidence, you don't want their first game to be a big game that might just finish their confidence forever. I remember years ago, I think it was Evra or Vidic, their first ever Man U game was a Manchester derby and he was subbed at halftime or something like that. So sometimes but then about him replicating Cunha, Cunha is a maverick. Arias has it in him, but like all these things happen, it's all going to be about how the state of the games are, state of the club. But as a good player, cream usually rises to the top. So, and I have a lot of time for, what's his name, Victor Pereira, their manager. So as much doom and gloom with the players they lost, I think they might actually get where they're going by give them a couple of weeks. I can't remember their fixture list, but I remember, I think, looking at their fixtures after game week 4 and saying they had a chance to get on a bit of a run. So as bad as they've looked so far, I don't think this is the stick we can judge them by. I think there's something there.
Okay, thanks. X-Nudu is in the chat. Welcome, bro. Always good to see you. So I have a question for you, Chooks.
Yeah.
What's your take on Semenyo this season? I know he just signed a new contract, but he's looking totally different. Okay, I can understand the brace against Liverpool in the first game. Yes, in the game against Wolves, he had a chance that from I think like 3 where he hit the crossbar. And shots, his influence are kind of grown. Is it the new contract that is spurring him to do this, or do you think that he just is able to do great things this season?
Yeah, with the end the season he had last season, right? And with the noise around him during the transfer window, you'd expect Semenyo was going to make a move to a bigger club, right? But signing that move and after finishing one season in the league, you'd expect his numbers to improve this season, right? And being in a team where he's now like the talisman, he's the key man there, that's that talent is beginning to shine through. So I think it was just expected that Semenyo was going to do well this season. Not do well, score 2 goals against Liverpool, but yeah, I think he's beginning to add that to his game. And you know what momentum does to players when they start well, and they start picking form, regardless of the fixture, they just begin to shine through. Yeah, me too. Me too comes to mind. So yeah.
So Charles has a very, very fair point. Arias, when they got the red card, he hasn't really had a good chance to shine just yet. So actually, I have a question for you. Last season, Andoni Iraola had Kekes on this wing, Smith or Araujo on this wing, Zabani and Hawson. Then he also had Kepa in goal. The summer comes into play, Kepa is gone, Kekes is gone, Zabani is gone, Hawson is gone. Yet he kept a clean sheet against Wolves. What's your take on the transition of all these new players he has bought, like Truffert, and of course Senesi coming back into the team? Do you think these guys can gel in time to be a good defense going into the season?
Bro, against Liverpool, I was shocked. Like, They lost to 4-2, but Diakite was such a good player in that game. I don't know if you remember, Diakite did so well in that game.
Yeah, he was a beast, man.
Truffet, I mean, is almost like they just found Keke's long-lost twin brother from an illegitimate mother and brought him in. I was so impressed. I mean, he got into my fantasy league team immediately because I don't know if you remember against Liverpool early on in the game. He had this lovely first-time cross. Yeah, that's a Semenyo hit over.
That cut back.
In fact, he played better in that game than Kirkus played for Liverpool, in my opinion. So it's just, and here's the thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody said it in one of the groups we're in and all that, and it's like, these teams, because they know the markets they're in, it's like they take more time in their scouting. You know, they know what they want, and they're getting the players. And luckily, and the good part, and here's the advantage they have here, because their budgets are not so high. When they do sell players for big money, right, they can instantly get the mid-range player they want. Because the market they're shopping, like how much did Kirkus go for? 35, 40 million, whatever it is. How much did they get Truffet? Because
40 million,
Truffet was how much? Was it 12, 15, something like that?
Yeah.
You know, so unlike when you're selling someone for 50 and what you want to get, the player you want to get is 45. It's a lot harder. But if you're selling for 50 and the guy you're looking for, they're quoting you 12, you haggle 1 to tell them, okay, make it 11.5, I think, you know? So it's quite interesting. So not just Iraola, his scouting team, the back room. I mean, Brighton have been doing it for years as well.
Yeah, I was about to mention Brighton.
It's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch. And
I agree.
You
lose Busima, you sign Caicedo.
Yeah.
You lose Caicedo.
You've got Baleba.
You know, you have right now. You don't mind selling Baleba for 100 million because you have one crazy DM that's about to unleash when you sign.
You know, the flip side of that is, let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, Kirkus has gone to Liverpool, right? For the next even 2-3 seasons, Kirkus is under more pressure every day than Truffet is. Which actually, you know, we forget that as well, because these clubs can do this and those players can seep in seamlessly because true, they're under less pressure. Look, see how we're talking about it. Like, you know, Truffet is this amazing player, which he's a good player from what we've seen so far. But they lost 4-2. He conceded 4 goals. But because it's against Liverpool, but imagine Liverpool lost their first game 4-2 to somebody after signing Kirkus, will be like, oh my God, what are they doing? You know, so
there'll be so much pressure.
Yeah,
I agree. So let's go to the next game. This was between Brentford and Aston Villa. Chooks, what's going on with Unai Emery and his lads?
Man, I think I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest, because I'm sure we all have 1 or 2 Villa or even 3 Villa assets in our fantasy teams, right? So that goes to tell you the expectation for Villa going into the season. So it's just shocking, and I know it's somewhere down in your list of areas to speak on today, but I think this is really my surprise of the week, right? It was a shocking outing from Villa there. But the fact they've not really been able to sign anybody, you know, I think signings have a way of, you know, boosting the morale,
galvanizing
the team and boosting the morale of the. So losing those attacking talents they had, Asensio, Rashford, and the likes, right? And you know, not being able to replace them. Watkins probably gets tired, and you don't have any key 9 to support him with. It's just a nightmare right now. But I know they'll be doing some window shopping and looking for Black Friday deals before the end of the window, you know, to show up that team. But yeah, it's a shocking outing from Villa.
Yeah, so what we comment in the chat from Bobby, say he loves Semenyo. Yeah, of course. Why won't you love Semenyo? You probably do well in your fantasy team. Good to have you in the chat, bro. So quick question for you, Achike. Brentford lost in Thomas Frank. They lost their most influential player in Mbeumo. They lost their captain and defensive midfielder in Christian Norgard. Prior to signing Django Ouattara, I didn't think their transfer window has been good. But now that Django has come and scored, do you think he can be the next Mbeumo for them?
So here's the thing, you know, we always make notes of signings and players that leave. We forget the players that were there that were just under the surface, like Sharda, that was always going to be good. He's a speed demon, and Igor
Damsgaard.
No, not Damsgaard. The striker they bought to replace Tony that got injured. Thiago. Yeah, I was mixing him with Igor Jesus. He as well, Now, losing your manager, but Brentford have shown us. Dean Smith was the manager. He left. What happened? They promoted Thomas Frank up, who lost like 6 of his first 8 games or something like that. Thomas Frank has left. They've put Keith Andrews up. I wasn't as down on Brentford as most people were, because I felt that their structure is quite impressive. The same way Brighton have gone through manager after manager. It was, who was it? Then it was Graham Potter, then it was De Zerbi, then it was this young guy who I always forget his name. Hudson Salah or whatever. Hudler, the young guy. That makes me feel old. That makes me feel old that he's a Premier League manager at 33. So I'm actually not too down on them. I mean, their first game, they lost badly. But then Damsgaard wasn't there as well, who I felt was very influential. And he even got the assist yesterday, I remember. And he had a goal disallowed as well. So I was actually like, there was a lot to see, because Igor Thiago, we didn't see enough of him, because he was brought to replace Tony, and Wissa would have been the backup. He got that really bad injury. And then Wissa now shined with Mbeumo and all that. And also, so Ouattara is replacing Mbeumo, but Kevin Schade was already starting games at the end of last season as well. And with Damsgaard, they had Norgard. Norgard was the captain, but they had other guys who were coming in when Norgard was injured and all that. So I was actually thinking
as well.
Oh, yes, Jordan Henderson, who's coming there with experience and coming there with that motivational thing that you need, and that little dressing room picked me up that you need. So like when I was seeing some predictions from like supposed professional pundits that Brentford were there for relegation and all that, I understood where they were coming from, but I was a bit shocked in the sense that we always focus on just signings and all that. What about the players that were there that we expect to get better? So I think Brentford, depending on fixtures, another thing is depending on fixtures. I don't know if you remember last year, they started so well because they were winning all their away games. Because all their away games, when they were doing that, they kick off and scoring in the first few minutes. Oh my God, that seems so long ago, but that was just last season, So I think they know what they're doing, and I think they'll be all right. Villa, on the other hand, I trust Emery. I think Emery's a good manager. People always say he's a mid-level manager in the sense that he does well in clubs that are, you have players that are willing to listen to you. They're not yet superstars and all that. Now, playing last year in the Champions League, missing out due to that crazy loss against Man United on the last day of the season last year.
Man United, yeah.
Could those players now feel that they're Champions League players who didn't make it and now not be listening to Emery? It's a tricky one. No, it's just a theory out there because they look so bad for an Emery team. In their first 2 games against Newcastle with all their wahalas should have killed them in that first game. Elanga could have gotten a couple, Gordon could have gotten a couple, so many things. Yesterday as well, I mean, they got the red card in the first game, so yeah, there's that. But yesterday as well, it's like they were, even when they brought on Buendia, I mean, they got injuries, but it just, something was lacking. I was so shocked. That didn't look like an Emery team at all.
Okay, so Chooks.
So, I mean, the jury's out.
Yeah. Thanks, Achike. Chooks, where would the level of officiating in the Premier League ever improve? Did you see the goal that was disallowed from Damsgaard?
No, I didn't see it.
Martinez went for the ball and he lost it. Like, he flapped it actually, like Everton did. And for some reason,
I'm very biased.
VAR said that. Oh my God.
I'm very biased because I have Damsgaard in my team, so I refuse to comment. I'm very biased. That was the worst decision. That was the worst decision in the history of the world. But I might be biased.
I haven't seen it yet. To be frank, I haven't seen it yet.
No. You need to, man. It was terrible. Like one would think that the essence of VAR is to help in issues like this. There was no foul whatsoever on Martinez, but for some strange reason, it was counted as a foul, and the goal was just disallowed. Just imagine if Aston Villa equalized, Kitanos would have actually busted the nerve in his brain or something. So let's go to the next game. This was between Sunderland and Burnley. So these are basically 2 of the candidates to go down.
You scored in this game. I can see you scored in the 88th minute in the game. Was it? Oh, is it?
Yeah, it was Jadon Anthony, that waste man. But it was a good goal, though. He dribbled the goalkeeper and stuff. But the first goal was from Cullen. It was a beautiful caller. And, of course, the old man, Dubravka, who came to replace Trafford, made some very, very important save. There was one very key save he made from Mayenda that after he made the game 1-0 to Sunderland. And obviously, that's when his experience came into the fore. But my question now to you, Achike, is this. Do you think Burnley has what it?
In a nutshell, no. I can see them having this kind of results against a certain type of team, Sunderland being one of them. I still think Sunderland will finish ahead of them, even with this result, because I can see Sunderland getting results against more teams than I can see Burnley getting results against. So in a nutshell, it was a good performance yesterday. The people they needed to shined. I mean, Cullen did really well, scored, and I think he assisted the second goal as well.
Yeah, said that.
Overall, they had a good day, but it's one of those things where they beat someone on their level. Okay, you know how you can try and go toe to toe with someone, and because you have similar ability, you can beat them. But those people will play differently against someone else. You know, the same way Tottenham, the way they played PSG and Man City was totally different than, you know, the way they played. Who was it they played last week again? Burnley. You know, Burnley, they went all out to punish them. So I think good result for Burnley. Great to have a victory early on, especially at home. You know, but tough more, right? Yeah, I just see it as one of those results that we were both promoted last season. I'm familiar with your game. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so Chooks, can you give us your take on this game?
Yeah, I think I have a slightly different opinion on this one. I don't think Sunderland will finish ahead of Burnley for starters. And that's because I think they have that defensive solidity about them. Parker is a defensively astute manager, right? You could see even that from the way he played as a player. He translated that to the way his team has played. Burnley kept how many clean sheets, conceded how many goals. Yes, it was a championship, right? But even the first game against Spurs, they troubled Spurs. They troubled Spurs quite well. I think they probably had more shots than Spurs at some point in the game, probably in the first half. You know, so yes, they're playing someone they're very familiar with, but I expect them to do that Sunderland in the Premier League this season, and I don't know. It's just my belief from what I've seen in the first two games.
Okay, thanks. So let's go to the next game. This was between Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. The Crystal Palace living life post Iberici Eze. You know, that was a very, very crazy transfer. As in, if you look at the timeline of how everything panned out, Tottenham aligning with him, agreeing the deal for him, to him switching and going to Arsenal, to him potentially going to play the game against First League. That's supposed to be like his farewell, but he called in sick. Oh my God, footballers are just epic. So he called his manager, Glasner, told him that he was not feeling well. And of course, there was a comment that Glasner made at Chike. He said that the club is to blame in the sense that they knew Eze was potentially going to leave. Now you have just 1 week left in the transfer window. With someone like Bilaleo Kanous, you know, because they have so much money burning in their account right now. With someone like Bilaleo Kanous, if they get him from Leicester, do what Eze was doing for them, will he just galvanize the team the way Eze was, or will they have to now hope on the likes of Sarr and Mateta to come up with the goods?
So my controversial take, well, Glasner's system is very impressive in the sense that I think even though they were more successful, the loss of Olise is going to affected Crystal Palace more than the loss of Eze will affect them. I know they won the FA Cup last year and all that. I'm not taking that away. But in the way they play, because Eze was a great cog in a system, and the same way the things people want from him to do in Arsenal, which is get the ball quicker, move it quicker and all that. None of that means he's a better footballer than Odegaard. It's just one particular thing people need to be done in Arsenal. He might be the one that will unlock it. So the same way that with his skill set, I think that Glasner can reshape his team in a way that he will be missed. Obviously, he's a fantastic player, but I don't think they'll be in as much trouble. I think the main issue with Palace is going to be if Gehi goes in this next week. That is going to be crazy. The best deal I think Liverpool can do for Crystal Palace is give them the Italian guy they just got on loan, the Italian guy that they just bought.
Leone.
Yes, get Eze, get Gehi, and then send that guy on loan to Palace. I mean, if I was Palace, Palace need the money. Not that they need it, but they'd rather get money now than lose Gehi for free. But I think post Eze Eagles are not going to be as affected negatively as the post Olise was in the way they play. Success is a different thing, the luck of the draw in FA Cups and things like that. We cannot legislate for that. But I don't know if you remember Olise's last season, the way he played.
Oh, yeah, he was
his impact. Now, last season, he was gone. They got Sa. Sa took a little bit to gel, but then they became a more effective unit and didn't need the individual moments of brilliance that Olise had, the free kicks, the flicks, and the tricks. So I think post Eze Eagles will be all right as long as Gehi is replaced. I think losing Gehi will be the really major one.
What about losing Watson?
Okay, I agree with you.
Losing
Watson.
what?
I feel like that's the real cog in that team.
Oh no! I was saying more like I don't think anybody's seriously bidding for Watson. That's why my mind didn't go there. Okay. That's what I meant. But Gehi, has a year on his contract, might be going. There's rumors that Liverpool are ready to swoop, or Liverpool want to do the wait for a year, and then also Konate will go for it free next year. All these intricacies. This next week will be hot, Sha.
Yeah, I agree. So choose Nottingham Forest. Now that they're in the Europa League, they've signed like 1,001 players.
As usual.
And that's one thing as usual, right? But still, they still managed to have the same squad. Wood kind of struggle today. What do you think of Forest in general? Do you think they'll be able to challenge for it to be in the top half again this season? Or will the transition of too many players negatively affect them?
Well, to be in the top half, I think they have enough to still remain in the top half, right? They're a solid team, but the only challenge I see is if they manage to lose their manager, right? Because in the last couple of days now, there's been rumors of a rift between the owner and the manager and the sporting director, right? So somewhere along the line, it's possible they're going to lose Nuno, and if they do, depending on who they get to replace him, it could translate to a change in a style of play for them. So being a compact team under Nuno, getting someone else who's probably not as compact, then we're back to seeing Forest somewhere at the bottom half of the table. But if they manage to keep Nuno, or he leaves and they replace him with and he leaves and they replace him with someone who's as pragmatic and solid as Nuno is, then I think they have enough quality to remain in the top half of the league. That's my take.
Okay, I agree with you on that. So let's look at the next game. This was between Everton and Brighton. Pickford was a hero yet again for the club, saving that penalty from Danny Welbeck. There were also goals from Iliman Ndiaye, Ghana. But I think the key story here was the renaissance of Jack Grealish. So when he was in Aston Villa, he was an amazing player, made that fated 100 million move to Manchester City. Actually did very well for them in the year they won the treble, but obviously they kind of went down and lost his place in the team. So now, Chike, now that Grealish is down in Everton, do you think he'll be like the Villa Grealish again?
Yep.
Or that is the past.
Yep. I like Jack Grealish. He's left Man City now, so I can hail him again. Because obviously, I hate Liverpool. So Everton are my team in the city of Liverpool. You see, Jack was one of those players, and I don't begrudge him the move. He was a maverick in Aston Villa. People forget he got in there as a really young kid, was shining for them. They got relegated. He stayed with them. They took 2 seasons or 3 seasons to come back. He was the captain then. Remember the season they got promoted? He wore the same boots for all 46 games. That he was really patching it up every game. And he reminds us of those maverick players, with their socks down to their ankles, no shimpas, Rui Costa. Remember Rui Costa, George Hagi, those kind of guys. Now, move to Man City. Nobody's going to say no to a move to Man City, giving you the number 10. If the move had happened a few weeks later, it might not have happened. It might have been Messi that would have moved with the number 10. But you're moving to, one of the greatest managers of all time. He's giving you a big squad number. He's putting faith in you. Now, this is where we need to remember that football is a career, right? It's a job. as much as it's entertainment for us, the fans, going to Man City, he should have no regrets. He achieved things that he wouldn't have achieved if he went anywhere else in his career. In that treble winning season, nobody, even the goalkeepers, played more Champions League minutes than Jack Grealish did for them. So that's a memory he'll have for his whole life. Some great players we know, like Ronaldo and Nazario, never won the Champions League. Jack Grealish has it in his locker. Now, it has gone south in the sense that I think he was a victim of being in the middle of a transitioning team in Man City. I think Man City's main issue last year was not Pep was losing ideas, was that too many players had got old together. De Bruyne, Walker, even the season before Cancelo, because we know how intense Pep is getting all that. But anyway, sorry, enough about that other team that is in the city of Manchester that has claims to have some fans. Grealish is a maverick player. He's taken the number 18, won by Wayne Rooney, won by Paul Gascoigne. He's what Everton love, as solidly defensively minded as David Moyes is, who some people don't realize has, in my opinion, more influence on the way Arteta plays than Pep or Arsene Wenger. But that's another story for another day. Because people forget how David Moyes' teams were. They would have strong, solid defenders, midfielders, and all that. Then you have Tim Cahill giving you headers with his goals and all that. A couple of flair guys jumping up and down. And Grealish is going to be fantastic. The fans at the Hill Dickinson Stadium are going to love him. He's going to love them back. And him on one side, our Senegalese brother on the other side, Ndiaye, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm happy, so happy for him.
Yeah. So speaking of Ndiaye Chooks, when he returned from Sheffield United, he was basically like a talisman, right? Played on the left, sometimes behind the striker. But with the signings of Dewsbury Hall, with the new TMO Barry and Grealish, he had been shunted to the right. Don't you think that it would affect his output?
I mean, talent will always shine through, right? Despite him being the left guy or being in the middle for most of last season, I knew his minutes were going to be reduced, right, with the attacking signings they've made this season. But it's difficult to just put out or put away a guy like that on the bench. So I expected him to, fight for his place, but Grealish was put on the left. He played on the right today, and he got his goal. So for me, I don't know. He's a player I've really really liked. I watched him in preseason, watched him last season, scouted him for a while. I expect his output to improve this season. So yeah, I don't think he should have so much worries. The only worry I expect him to have will be when I can't remember his name now, left-footed guy. The left-footed guy.
McNeil.
Yeah, no.
McNeil. Okay.
McNeil especially, and then Diblin also coming into the team. Thank you for that reminder. I almost forgot about that. So yes,
So
Diblin and
okay,
McNeil.
go ahead. Yeah. So
I think
Jordan
with
Pickford
both of them
has
joining the team.
I agree, because obviously having McNeil on the right, having Diblin on the right, having Grealish, certainly the minutes will have to be shared.
Yeah.
So actually, I have a question. Transitioning from life under Sean Dyche under David Moyes, what should Everton's fans expect this season?
Okay, so I think I'm one of those people that thinks Sean Dyche gets a bit of a bad rap. Yeah. I think managers use what they have at their disposal, right? Because we have to remember McNeil was in Burnley now under Sean Dyche, and he was always doing his thing now. Yeah, he was now, wasn't he? Unless I'm mistaken. Yeah,
Him and Wood.
Yeah, so he uses his players according to what he has, because and Moyes is the same. Moyes has just had a longer time and is a good man. I see, and here's the thing with football fans. Moyes is and I'm not saying this lightly. Moyes is a great manager. Yeah. And I use the word great. Qualifying Everton for the Champions League, qualifying Everton for the Champions League in 2000. No, let me start from far back. Qualifying them for the Champions League, getting to FA Cup finals, then Everton at the time of team they were. We only see greatness as winning things, which is why, Arsenal fans get a lot of stick for Arteta. But, as you say, but he's a manager who has shown that, give me the tools. Yeah. Okay. These are the tools I have, right? I will do what I will with them. And he showed last season when he got there after Sean Dyche shot them up the table. They were safe. I think after the time he came in, only I think Man City or who was it? There were a couple of teams that had more points than he got as an Everton manager at that point. I think Wolves, that season bounce. Now he's been given some signings. I think the loss of Decore, might be a big one. That's the one I'm thinking because he left on a free, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, they didn't renew his contract.
Yeah, they didn't renew his contract. So that's the tricky one because getting all these attacking-minded players, I think Drewsby Hall might actually drop to be partnering Ghana. Ghana Gay. And then Grealish might go back to his number 10. So those positions we think we're fighting for on the wing, it would be McNeil, Diblin, Alcaraz, and Ndiaye might be the four fighting for the wide places. Because I think Grealish's position might end up being that behind the striker, and then Drewsby Hall would be with Gana Gay, and then James Garner might come in sometimes.
Like a double pivot.
Yeah, like a double pivot of Idrissa Gana Gay and Drewsby Hall, or Idrissa Gana Gay and James Garner. There's a bit of flexibility. I think Moyes would be fine. My only fear is that new stadium, as I don't know if you saw the stats that since the Premier League was formed, all the teams that moved to a new stadium got less points in that stadium the first season than they did in the season before. And considering Everton were not super fantastic last year, well, because of the Dyche, the months under Dyche, that might be a tricky one. But they got their first win at the new stadium today. It's bigger, it's better. 13,000 more people attended this than the last game at Goodison. More money. I fully support Everton. I mean, Everton are the only club in the city of Liverpool, that city in the northwest of England anyway. So, they deserve success. They deserve success.
Yes, had to. Now, let's go to the next game that will make Achike a bit vexed. Fulham, Manchester United. So, when Manchester United played Arsenal last week, there was like a renaissance. Arsenal were basically outplayed. Cunha, Mbuemo, we fought so hard. Bruno was like on fire. So, they lost due to an error from Altay Boyende, and we're expecting that, okay, with the way they played Arsenal, coming into a game against Fulham, they would have done a bit better. Now there were missed chances. There was even a penalty that someone who is as reliable as Bruno Fernandes missed. And obviously, they actually got the goal when Euro nodded the ball on Moni's body for the own goal. And of course, Mitro, my boy, came and leveled it up. So the question I want to ask you is this, Achike. Now that Bruno in his first full season as Manchester United manager, if he doesn't come up with the goods, will it be okay to bring out the pitchforks and the torches?
Okay, let me deal with your question first. You see, yes, obviously, because in a club like Manchester United, the rope he has been given is longer than most rope anyone will be given. Extenuating circumstances, he didn't want to come middle of the season, all of that, my own players, the rift in the dressing room, all that. Yes, if by December, right? If by December, and this is my personal one, I don't know what the board have told him. If by December, Man United are not in the top 7, top 8, Amorim should go. That's my own Achike, personally. That's the expectation I have of him with the things that have been done for him in the market, with the time he has had, with the no midweek games, with the no European football and all that. That is the standard I am setting for him. And I've set it on live TV or live internet here and all that. The board might have a different setup because of where the team finished last year. But league table does not lie. So, yes, Man United were the 15th best team or worst team or whatever worst team in the league last year. But they do not, by any stretch of the imagination, have the 15th worst players, in my opinion. So this is where now he has to earn his salary, his wages, and his chops. And we'll see that. So that's my take on that overall thing. On the game today, I don't feel that bad about the game because it's one of those games where if either of Cunha's first goals had entered, Man United would have won 5-0. Football is like that. Game state is very important. Game state is so important. And because it's so funny because I missed the penalty because my niece was going to university today. So I was up saying goodbye and putting her luggage in the car and all that, yeah. And then I came back and I still saw 0-0 and I didn't realize what happened. And then I heard, the commentator said something, missed the penalty. I was like, huh? And then the best penalty taker in the world missed a penalty. Is not your day now. Even when we scored by the own goal, I was still like, okay, it's not like we have even scored. And then when Fulham equalized, I was just like, yeah, of course they were going to equalize now. Like, of course. Fulham, the only team that we tend to usually beat, even in our worst times. Like last season, our first game of the
true,
season,
true.
we beat Fulham. I think they were the only person we did the double over last year. Okay, no, I think Southampton.
Yeah,
Them and Southampton. I
yeah.
think were they the only one?
And Ipswich
No,
also.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, but you did a double over them.
Yeah, I know we did double over them 1-0, 1-0. I think they were one of the only 2 or 3 teams, or maybe, and then maybe Ipswich, or
Yeah.
no, I think no, we drew with Ipswich now. It's ridiculous, or is it less? Anyway,
No. You won Ipswich. I think you
yeah,
won Ipswich.
the issue is that it was one of those. Fulham is a game that we usually have a good result, and then Cunha hit the bar in like the second minute, got that amazing save, the takedown and save in the 10th minute, and then
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, so it's one of those things where I just realized that I'm not going to take much from this game. We started so well, and then those missed chances. Obviously, football. You've played football. You know how it is. Fulham got their confidence back. They're at home. It was good. They played well as well. Anthony Robinson was missing early on. They brought him in. Their captain, their talisman and captain. He will be continue this renaissance he has in his free role position in Fulham. It was just one of those games that I was upset we drew because I thought we would win, but with the game state, I was even happy that we didn't lose because the game state was so against us. It's one of those games where you pepper so much, and you just know you're going to concede some silly sucker punch. So yeah. Next week against Burnley is the game that I'll be like, okay, let me see. Because the front 3 stroke 4 are playing well. Mbeumo was a lot more quiet than he was last week, but Cunha was all over the place. Mount was doing his thing. Sesko came on, had a few nice touches here and there. I think he'll get a start next week. I think he'll get the start over Mount next week.
Yeah, he should.
And then I understood Amorim's plan. Sorry to extend it because it's so interesting because I understood his plan so much. Last week, he started Dalot on the right? And Dalot's biggest thing is, getting the ball wide, trying to get crosses in and all that. And then when he was making subs, he was bringing on Ahmed and then bringing on Sesko. Meanwhile, Sesko is the guy you want to try to be getting on the end of crosses and all that. So I fully understood him starting Ahmed and then bringing on Sesko and Dalot at the same time. But it didn't lead to much. But it's interesting that I'm seeing the process he's trying to work through. And fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so Chooks, I want to talk about Manchester United's transfer window challenges. You have Sancho, you have Garnacho, you have Højlund, you have there's one more player I'm thinking about. Anthony.
Malacia.
Players
that Malacia. I forget.
Malacia. Guys that Amorim has no plans of playing this season. But for some reason, they are not linked with teams out there. Obviously, for what kind of wages they're earning. What's your take on those players? Can they be reintegrated back into the side, or should they be ostracized for the entire campaign if they don't get the move out like Rashford?
No, I think they're actually getting linked. To be fair, Garnacho has links to Chelsea. Like that's the only link. Whenever I swipe through Fabrizio Romano, it's always Garnacho to Chelsea. So that link seems pretty strong. Who again did you call this? Sancho has had a couple of links to Italy, to the Italian league, Roma, Juve. So I think they would find clubs, especially those two. Anthony might just end up, doing a dry loan, at the tail end of the window. So I don't think they would have so much problems sending those players away. To be honest, I think they'll find clubs. But if they fail to send them out, will they be integrated? That's a very big question there because I don't even think they suit the style of play that Amorim is trying to implement in the club, right? Garnacho is a wide winger. Amorim prefers two cams, so to say, right? 2 10s.
Yeah.
Anthony is also a right winger. I don't know if he can do the right wing back job that Ahmad is doing. So they're not good fits for Amorim's system. So that's why it'll be difficult to reintegrate them into the system. And I think that's why they are also looking to leave in the first place. So yeah, but they've gotten good signings in Cunha and Mbeumo, and in the last 2 game weeks they've looked really good. Mbeumo looked more quiet today, like Atike said, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. To be honest, it was a scary game coming into today. I thought after watching what they did versus Arsenal, I thought they will come all conquering against Fulham, but Fulham really surprised me, and now I'm beginning to wonder how they'll play against Chelsea next week. So let's see.
Okay. Achike, any final thoughts on the Manchester United Fulham clash before I move to the next section?
No, it was just interesting because I'm a big supporter of Amarim. I mean, I predicted Amarim becoming my United manager about a year and a half before he became my United manager, and progress. People always talk about progress and when it's not showing and all that, and I can see what he's trying to do. I mean, Mason Mount is one of my favorite players in the way he plays football. In like he's one of those players that a manager, you've heard it now, every manager that has managed him loves him, and I could see it in his game. And so I'm a little bit sad that he's going to get sacrificed a bit when Sesko comes in.
Sheshko
Although
is ready.
today when Casemiro was subbed and Sesko was brought
Mount
on,
dropped.
he dropped.
Mount dropped.
Yeah, he dropped.
Yeah,
He
did
and
you see
Bruno
Yeah,
that?
I saw
dropped, and
that.
I was like, okay,
Yeah,
money mace. But
yeah,
he made one
but
error
it
while
didn't
he
work.
was there, Shad,
It
and
didn't
he lost the ball.
work
No,
because you
no,
have to be Ugarte quickly to.
no, it was not quickly. I mean, there's tiredness as well. But it like there was one error he made, but we've all played ball. Like if you're moved to a position that you're meant to be thinking about different things within a game, it's you need a little time to adjust, and it's okay. Because the thing about today's game, like I said, is that as football fans, we always usually remember how things ended, right? We don't know how it started. Like if the game started this way, yeah, was reversed and Fulham started the game in the 90th minutes and scored, and then Man United equalized with that own goal, yeah, and then Bruno missed a penalty to make it 2-1, and then Cunha hit the bar twice in the 90 something minutes. We would say Man United was so unlucky to draw this. You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
Game state
yeah,
changes and
psychology.
the way we remember games, and also, because we always remember how things ended, but not how they happened. Because like one of the favorite examples, I know this is off tangent, but one of the favorite examples I have of this is the Real Madrid versus Man United versus Real Madrid game in 2003 that Ronaldo de Lima scored a hat-trick. Many people, if you ask them immediately, they forget Man United won that game. Man United won that game 4-3.
Yeah,
Ronaldo's hat-tricks were the only goals Real Madrid scored, but because of the way the game went and the hat-trick, and then because Real Madrid qualified, so the same way with this game is how. That's why I told you I didn't feel that bad about it. Although I do think Anthony might be reintegrated if he stays as a backup left wing back for Dogu.
Dogu.
Just train that out there. Just train that out there. That might be a possibility because he wants to go to Real Betis. Real Betis wants him, but the money is not there yet. Sancho is the one that I don't think he can, because the hierarchy. Because like they say to players here, and the same thing that's happening to Isak here. You can piss off the manager. You can even sometimes piss off the fans, piss off the coaches. Don't piss off the owners. Sancho has pissed off the owners in the sense that all his deals have fallen through because he doesn't want to take even a slight reduction in his wages.
Or his pay cut.
Yeah, so I think his time is completely done. I think his time, because that's what I think is happening to Isak. Because Isak has actually pissed off the Saudis, in my opinion. Well, anyway, sorry, I'm moving on to things that we haven't even started. Sorry about that. But yes, anyway, Man United against Burnley next week. Let's see. What am I saying? Sorry, you people don't relate to this kind of thing now. We have Grimsby this week in Carabao Cup early
Oh
rounds.
my God.
For
Oh
those that
my
don't play in
God.
Europe, sorry, for us that don't play in Europe, sorry, my brothers.
So,
I know
so,
you guys
so
don't relate to such. I know.
Man, right now you're in the trenches, bro. Like
We
the
have
real
been there. Don't
trenches.
worry, we've been there
Oh my
before.
God.
In 2013, we played MK Dons. Young Dele Alli was in the team. They beat our reserve team 4-0. But it's okay. I've been there before. I know how it is.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're going to look at the outstanding fixture game week. And that's Newcastle versus Liverpool. So this game comes at 8 p.m. The elephant in the room will be Alexander Isak. He's supposed to be a Liverpool player. So let me start with you, Chooks. What should we expect from this game?
I mean, I expect real fire, right? Because Newcastle have serious pace to trouble Liverpool's backline. And with the way we saw Liverpool's backline play against Bournemouth, I think they're going to face a stand-up test against Newcastle with Gordon, with Barnes, with Elanga. Now, so there's a lot of pace from the Newcastle team. There's a lot of pressing. This is a team that is relentless with their press. They have very fast in what's his name? I keep forgetting the Italian guy. He's a very fast midfielder
Tonali.
Tonali.
Tonali, yeah, who covers grounds a lot. So yeah, I expect a real cracker from Newcastle. I don't see Liverpool winning this one. I still maintain the prediction I had. I don't think Liverpool wins it. I think Liverpool will struggle to deal with Newcastle's pace and Newcastle's press. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe a draw, maybe Newcastle win. But if Newcastle had Isak within the ranks, I fancy them still in a win against Liverpool. But without a striker, I just can't imagine how they would fare. They struggled in their last game against Aston Villa, despite all the chances they created. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very
Okay, so I have a question for you. They tried to get Buemo, they failed. They tried to get João Pedro, they failed. They tried to get Shesko, they failed. Like, why can't Newcastle get their targets? And they're supposed to be a Saudi club in the Champions League. What's peculiar about them?
So the problem they have is that the previous ownership didn't invest a
Actually,
lot in the club. Yes, Mike Ashley, right? So PSR, yeah. And especially when they were in there before, it's about money you get in. Now, Newcastle is a one city club, it's a one club city, right? Their tickets are cheap. Their commercial revenues, it's up in the north. So there are many reasons why they don't have the financial muscle to do things that they think they should be able to do because of their ownership. We forget that initially they got Trippier for how much from Atletico? They got what's his name, Dan Burn. They got Wood initially. They got a lot of players initially when they wanted to as they got those ownership to solidify their place in the Premier League. Bruno Guimaraes, they got Isak. Isak was big money now, wasn't it? Like
yeah, 70
60
yeah,
mil.
something million.
around 16.
Yeah, and then Tonali too was big money for that kind of thing. So even Livramento and Hall, all those buys that were for the future. It's just that because they didn't buy star names. Now, what has happened now is that they spent all that money, got to literally their PSR limit, which is why they had to get rid of Elliot Anderson, the Nottingham Forest guy now, and people like that. So people talk about failed
And long
transfers, right?
staff.
People talk about failed transfers, right? I mean, there's so many factors into this. I mean, we forget, like I always try to point out, these people are human beings as well. Newcastle is quite far away for people who are foreigners in the country. Like Mbuemo, that since he came to England, he's been living in London. Manchester is the third city now. I mean, or is it the fourth city? Newcastle might just not be a viable option for him to want to live in. When Liverpool, for example, were going through their doldrum days and still getting good players, people were not saying the same thing about Liverpool now when they were missing out on some signings but still getting some players. So because I know people were saying that, oh, imagine Mbuemo went to Man United instead of Newcastle, even though Newcastle are in the Champions League. Yeah, I mean Luis Suarez, unless I'm mistaken, he went to Liverpool when they're even in Europe. Because they're a historic club, they're a good club and all that. I think it's just one of those things where they just need a couple more years. I think if their trajectory had been a bit different, like if that first year they hadn't qualified for the Champions League, right? That year they came fourth, right? And they had just done Europa League, got some good players. Their trajectory would have been better because we won't be saying they're a two-time Champions League club, and so the expectations won't be as high. Because the players they're missing out on, the clubs they're missing out on them to are bigger clubs than they are. It should not shock us. I don't know why we're shocked. But it's because they're in the Champions League. But if they had done that first year, gotten into maybe Europa, they wouldn't have gone so big on Isak, on Tonali the year after and all that. It would have graduated a bit slower.
True.
They would have gotten maybe a Wissa of Den and a Mbuemo of Den, who would be part of the team now, who would not be edging for the move. So I think it's just one of those things where if they continue on the trajectory they're on, it'll be okay. Losing Amanda Stavely as well was kind of a big one because I know she was very influential in getting the Saudis there and in relations with players and negotiations, which is why people are saying that promises were broken and things like that. But I think they're on the right track.
Okay, so let's go to the surprise of the week. So I will take my surprise of the week and I'll allow you to share yours. Mine was the shock result at the Etihad. I expected Manchester City to build on what they had done against Wolves with the new signings bedding in, with all the stars. This is why I felt that Tottenham are kind of on the rise with Thomas Frank. I expected Man City to win that game, but it was a shock result for me. So, Choose, what's your own surprise of the week?
I think the surprise of the week for me was Villa. Like I said before, losing. They did lose the first game now. No, they drew, right?
They drew with
Yeah,
Newcastle.
it was a 0-0. Yeah, it was a 0-0. Yeah, but again that game I expected goals from both sides. So coming into the Brentford game, after the draw in the first game, I expected Villa to put up a showing, but it was a very drab outing. Like I don't know. Yeah, that was the real shocker for me.
Okay. How about you, Achike?
I mean, my personal shock of the week was obviously Man United drawing with Fulham because I thought we would beat them. But I think overall, how good Everton and Jack Grealish looked. Not that they won, because Brighton have had they had to have a last week they only beat Fulham. Oh, they actually drew with Fulham and all
They
that.
drew,
But
yeah.
No, they drew with Fulham.
Everton in that first game of the season, against Leeds. Leeds were all over them, and I was like, this is a newly promoted team. What's going on? Like, they looked a bit out of sorts. So against Brighton, who I expect to be a well-rounded team and do all that, I was shocked at how coherent, cohesive, and just generally good overall Everton looked against Brighton. I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, great. So now let's go to Injury Watch. So this is a new section on the review show where we look at some key injuries for some players in Gameweek 2.
Okay.
So the first one that comes to mind is Bukayo Saka. When Arsenal played
technical glitch.
Okay. Sorry, I think I lost my connection. Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. So the first one is Bukayo Saka. The last time he suffered an injury for Arsenal was in December 21st, 2024. I remember that game against Crystal Palace, where he received a pass and he tore his hamstring and was out for 4 months. Arsenal were just in a transition play. He was going with the ball. I didn't see any form of attack from the Leeds defender. He played a simple pass and went to the ground. Luckily for us, it was the difference. It was the left leg this time because the one that got injured was the right leg. The question now is, with Saka having this injury, can he potentially play the Liverpool game, or will he be back after the international break, or will it be as long as the last injury he suffered? Achike?
I mean, I'm no medical expert, but if it's anything above a sprain, he's not going to make the Liverpool game. If it's anything above like a ligament sprain or a hamstring sprain, he's not going to make the game. So fingers crossed that it's not that serious. But then again, I'm sorry, with the business you've done and all that, if it's any doubt whatsoever, rest him. There's Noni Madueke now. Eze can come in on the left. Martinelli, there's Manieri. Nah, it's like that is that's what Aston have done this year. I think it's not about strengthening your first team, because I personally still think that Havertz might get more games than Gyökeres, but that's another story altogether. It's the fact that you now have depth. So use your depth. I think, just rest him. Even if it's any doubt whatsoever, just rest him.
Yeah, so Chooks, Martin Odegaard had that terrible fall, and he landed on his shoulder. He tried to continue, but after like 10 minutes, it was clear that he was visibly in pain, and he was substituted for Waneri. With the sign of Eze, it should be enough to cushion the loss of Odegaard, right?
Yes, I think so. And from the feelers we're getting, I don't think it's serious for either of them, right? So I expect them to be up and running maybe after the international break. It might come too soon. It might be too far. But there's just a lot of excitement from the Arsenal camp that the injuries are not as bad as they feared. So fingers crossed on that one. I expect Eze to be able to do the job if called upon.
Okay, Achike, so let's talk Cole Palmer. He was set to play the game against West Ham, and he missed it, which then allowed Estevao to come into the side and João Pedro moved to the 10. What was your take on João Pedro as a 10? Should he be retained there even when Palmer comes back to full fitness, or should he come back to the middle of the pack?
I mean, so here's the thing. I'm not in the Chelsea camp training every week, every day, and all that. But obviously, on current form, João Pedro should play anywhere he wants to play. But I'm also one of those people that believes your best players, you have to play them back into form. They're not going to get into form on the bench. So I think for the long-term benefit of the team and the squad as a whole, if Palmer is ready to play the next game, bring it back in the next game. João Pedro can play wide or more from the left, and then if they want to start Liam Delap up front, start Delap up front. But yeah, if your best player is injured and if your best player is fit, you play him. Like Bruno Fernandes, no matter how off form he is, unless he's tired and like on one leg, he should play them into form, play your best players into form.
Okay, so Chooks, let's talk Ryan Out-Nouri. Prior to the game against Tottenham, Man City were already without Josko Vadio, and Out-Nouri, who had a great preseason, even this way in the Club World Cup, and even in the first game against his former team, suffered an injury in the first half. How would his injury affect Man City? Do you think Nathan Ake has enough to do what he's doing on that flank?
Yeah, I mean, Nathan Ake is a Champions League, Premier League winning defender. So I'm sure he has more than enough to do whatever is asked of him to replace Ryan Nuri. Not taking away the fact that Nuri is a talented footballer, right? But yeah, I don't think there's much he's being asked to do that Ake cannot cover. The only problem I see is Ake could go on another injury now, and it leaves them very light on the left there. What's his name? Vadio. I don't know. I don't know if he's back now. I don't think he started in the last game week. He didn't start, and I didn't see him come on as well. So that would have been another option on the left. So pending when he's back, I know he's recovering from an injury now. So pending when he's back, I'm sure they would have enough cover on the left for the club.
Okay, so Achike Bubaka Kamara has really had a terrible time in Aston Villa with injuries.
So bad,
and at some point he lost his place to Onana and of course Tielemans in the midfield. Now that he has finally gotten a chance to play against Brentford, he suffers another injury. Do you think Aston Villa should also invest in another holding midfielder with the constant amount of injuries Kamara has been having?
I mean, so it's a tricky one, yeah, because yes, he's been down with injuries and all that. I think with Onana and Tielemans at a base, and depending on what they want to do with their white players, they could play a midfield three of, Onana, Tielemans, and McGinn, and then have two white players either side of Watkins. A player we've forgotten that is back and might either be playing in a hole but can also play on the wide left behind Watkins and all that is your man Buendia, who had an okay season last year with Leverkusen, but he's back because he's the one that came on. Because yesterday, Kamara started at the base, and then when he got injured, Tielemans dropped. Then Buendia came on to be behind the striker. So I don't know if that is where I think they need to invest in. I think they need to invest in another forward because, I mean, the Rashfords and Asensios went. They also lost Leon Bailey, I think. Is Leon Bailey went to
he has gone to Roma.
Yeah.
So their wide players, their attacking players are Rogers, Watkins, and I know they bought a young kid who I've forgotten his name.
Gressard.
Yes,
from Nice.
But I can't think of anyone else. So I think up towards the forward line is where they should invest.
Okay, then finally, Chooks, let's talk about Daniel Ballard. He was the cream of the week when he scored that bullet header for fantasy managers with Sunderland. He had 17 points, had goal, assist, clean sheets. What everyone fantasizes about. But in the game against Burnley, he suffered an injury. So do you think this might be a long-term thing, bearing in mind that Sunderland is the type of club that probably invests so much? They also spend so much money this summer on several players. Losing the ball and then to go for a defender.
I mean, in the so much that they signed, they also got some good defenders. Reinildo is something good. Mukiele plays on the flank. Is it Masauko or Masauko or something like that?
Musaka, that former West Ham guy, right?
Yeah, he plays on the flanks though. But yeah, Reinildo is someone who could play on the flanks and could also play centrally. I don't know how serious the injury is. The manager sounded like he was a bit upbeat. Waiting to see what happens by Monday. So we don't know how serious that one is yet. But I think they have enough to cover. Although he's a very key player, but I think and it's good he's gone before the end of the transfer window. So if they have to go into the market to fix that, then that's a good opportunity.
Okay, awesome. So let's look at the players of the week. I'll first touch on my number 3, which was Josh Cullen, the captain of Burnley. He had an amazing game, a goal and assist, and he's someone that probably not get so many attacking returns in the future. But for him to stand out this week, he did so well against Sunderland. So Achike, what were your thoughts on Kule's performance on the day?
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, he's like recently instated captain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like recent things. I mean, that's what you want, man. Leading by example. I mean, literally, Scott Parker could not have asked for anything better. Recently, as instated captain, you get a goal and assist for your team's first win back in Premier League. Game done. Done.
Awesome. So let's talk about the next guy, Chooks. It's time for you to
Yeah,
wax lyrical about him.
I think he was the player of the week who didn't get the player of the match, right? I don't know how he didn't get the man of the match award against West Ham. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Estevao, who had a good game, but I don't think Estevao had a good game up to what João Pedro did. So very solid performance. Asked to drop deep, he did that very well. Actually, the line after Delap left did that very well. Was tricky on the ball. Was very strong against defenders. So yeah, I really fancy his chances in the Chelsea team this season. I don't know how many goals he can score. People say he's not really scored lots of non-penalty goals prior to his move now, but uh, let's see how he fares in Chelsea's team. But he had a very great week. Good to say.
Okay, Achike, finally, Julian Timber.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but you should know that this guy, before he went to that red wearing club in North London, is my guy.
You wanted to go for him.
No, not
You
even
were
wanted to go for Man
you
United.
were
No, the
going
reason
for
he
him.
knows. No, the reason he should know personally is that we play Football Manager together, and I always
Okay.
buy Urian Timber.
Okay.
Always. From when he was a teenager. I mean, Arsenal with their corners, he's a solid player. He can play right back, center back, left back, defensive midfield. I'm sure he can play right wing and left wing. Maybe from his 2 goals and assists, he can play as a striker. Quality player. I mean, a child from the Ajax school. Anything more to be said? That's it. I mean, yeah, great performance. Caveat against a newly promoted side, but you can only play what's in front of you. And he was on fire. Calafiori was actually on fire too. Like this was, I mean, both fullbacks were on it, and it was just a game that suited them. The more they grew into the game, and then with the set pieces, and then with the intelligence, yeah, great performance by Timber.
Yeah, I agree. So now let's have a look at the Premier League table after Gameweek 2. Starting with the bottom half, I think I'll be able to see Achike. Oh yeah,
some teams are in a very
16.
familiar position, right?
Yeah, so familiar. Yeah, so familiar. Like you were 16th last year, you're 16th again after 2 games. Is all we should expect.
Why is Achike looking shocked?
So at the bottom half of the table, we have West Ham currently last with Wolves in 19th place and Brighton in 18th place. I'm guessing that with the way West Ham is starting this campaign, they might probably lose some more games. But looking at this list of teams here, is there anything that you feel should not be here right now? My take, what about you, Achike?
I mean, it's 2 games in. Too many caveats, who you've played, how you've played, which team was there and all that. I don't look at the table till like after like 10 game weeks.
Okay. Fair enough. So in the top half, obviously, is a team that's currently at the top, and all that. But obviously, our enemies will still say, yes, it's 2 games. So I won't say much about that. But for Chooks, Nottingham Forest are back in 4th place. Do you expect them to challenge for the Champions League like they did last season?
Hell no.
Why?
Very emphatic.
Yeah, it's an emphatic no because I don't expect them to do so. There's a lot of turmoil within the club now, and you know how noise can detract proceedings on the performance from the players. So I don't know. Again, last season it could have been a fluke, but I know they're a very solid team in terms of the structure they keep, how compact they are, and all of that. But I don't expect them to compete for the top 4 places now, not this season. There's a lot of firepower from the top teams now to allow them to do something similar.
Okay, Achike, can you give me your take on Nottingham in top half right now? Do you think?
I mean,
are you aligned with? Chooks?
So yeah, no, so the Nottingham Forest were tricky last year, yeah, because the way they played was counterintuitive. They almost played like literally give you the ball so they could counterattack you. Now they've lost a very important part of that, which was Elanga, who was very quick and all that. But they've added lots of players. And Chris Wood started the first game really well, second game really well. It's intriguing because I want to flip it the same way I said we should flip like Man United's game. If last season had been reversed and they started as badly as they ended, but then ended on a high like that, yeah, we'll be excited for what they could bring this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
true.
Last season felt like a downer because they started so well then dropped. But it's 38 games, 38 games.
Yeah, and they were consistent at the top for quite a while.
Yeah,
too.
that's what they started so well then dropped. But if it was that they were really low and had this crazy run at the end, we'd be like, But then again, like I said, the reality is many teams, last season was a season that a lot of teams underperformed, and they have tried to correct their underperformance. So yeah, I see Nottingham Forest mid-table this season.
Okay. So finally, let's look at our predictions for game week 3. So here I will just call a fixture. Achike, you give your scores, and Chooks, you give your scores. So we'll start with Fulham.
3-1.
Chooks?
2-1. 2-1.
Man U Burnley. Achike?
4-0.
Chooks?
3-0.
Tottenham Bournemouth. Achike?
2-1.
Chooks?
Top one there. I don't know. I think I'll go with Achike on that 2-1.
Sunderland Brentford. Achike?
1-1.
Chooks?
1-2.
Wolves Everton. Achike?
1-2.
Chooks?
1-1.
Leeds Newcastle. Achike?
0-2.
Chooks?
1-3.
Brighton Man City. Achike?
0-2.
Chooks?
2-2.
Interesting. Nottingham Forest West Ham. Achike?
2-0.
Chooks?
2-1.
Liverpool Arsenal. Achike?
3-3.
2-2.
Chooks? Finally, Aston Villa Crystal Palace. Achike?
1-1.
Bang on.
Chooks?
1-1.
Okay, so this brings us to the end of today's stream. I would really love to say thanks to Achike and Chooks for being part of this. We'd love to see you guys again next week Sunday. Do every Sunday by 8 p.m. You should really look forward to having a stream with the panelists in All About Arsenal. So any final words, Achike?
No, this was great. It was good. The season has started quite interestingly. Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a very interesting Premier League season.
I agree. I can't agree less, to be honest. From what we've seen so far, I think we're going to be on for a very long ride, and I expect the big teams to keep showing how big they are, and, just sifting themselves away from the lower teams in the league. So yeah, well done.
So thank you so much for being part of the stream, and for everyone that was in chat, thanks for the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys.